Hey, hi everyone. Thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update. This is going out on Tuesday, August 31st. Many of you know that we pre-record these, so we're actually recording on Monday the 30th. And I think the main thing on everyone's mind and one of the biggest things today is just sending prayers to everyone in Southeast Louisiana from Hurricane Ida. It's very rough down there. I think devastating is going to be the main word to say it. And before we kick off on our traditional news update topics, I want to talk about just a few resources that are out there for y'all in Southeast Louisiana for cattle and livestock producers in general. So Louisiana Farm Bureau has a disaster response committee. They have a Facebook group set up and some information out. I'm going to put that link in our podcast and video descriptions for today. So the description that they have in the article that I've seen for it that I'll link here is that it's a Facebook group that's designed to connect you with other farmers and ranchers across the state, really in any time of a disaster. And it's where you can offer help or request help if you need it. You can post your needs during, following, after disasters. So again, you don't have to be a Farm Bureau member to join this group. It is a Facebook group, and I will link that article with information to it from Farm Bureau in our video and podcast descriptions. The AgCenter also has information for livestock and pet producers for both disaster preparedness and disaster response. So there's a couple of articles on water requirements and things for cattle, feed requirements for cattle. Both of those are from Dr. Navarre, and then there's also a whole list of other resources there that are available, and I'll link those as well. So with that, Vince, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for our Central and South Louisiana update.
Thanks for having me, Ashley. Well, in Central Louisiana, we dodged this one. Unlike last year's Laura and Delta, this one we were on the fringes. We felt some of the effects, from Saturday through the day into the night, Saturday night into Sunday, and throughout the day Sunday, and even today we're still, we're getting some light showers, but nothing significant. We've had very minimal rain, probably max, 30-mile-an-hour winds at the peak of what we experienced from Hurricane Ida. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those producers and friends and family of producers that we know and people that we affiliate with from the AgCenter and other affiliations, but it's got to be tough. But as far as what's going on here in Central Louisiana, ryegrass planting is on the minds of many. We've had some soil prep already taking place for that, but the armyworms are still they have been all spring and all summer have been very aggressive. Several different population that we've had to control options that are not working as far as the pyrethroids that are labeled. So we've been recommending, based on the entomologist recommendations, some of the combinations with a pyrethroid, like the Dimolins or Intrepid, something that they have to ingest, and that seems to have been working pretty well. But the cost is far higher than it would be just if we were able to use a pyrethroid alone. But with that being said, they're still aggressive. We have a lot of producers still trying to make another cutting of hay. Our days are getting shorter. We're looking at some mid 60 degree nights coming up here at the end of this week, hopefully. It's going to be a blessing in disguise, but for the hay situation, it's not going to be good because as we get those cooler nights, we get less growth as far as Bermuda grass is concerned, and some of the other summer annual grasses that we rely on for hay production. So the hay is most likely to be short. There's not a lot of people looking for hay right now, but that's the general nature, is they wait till they need it to look for it. So we've been making some calls the last few weeks where we know there's an abundance of hay or an availability of hay for people to go ahead and get it. Especially on the heels of these hurricanes and with the hurricane season upon us, some of that hay there'll be a demand for that for those emergency feeding purposes. So if you haven't secured your winter feeding needs, you need to go ahead and do that pretty soon, because it looks like hay will be short. As far as the local market, the calf market has been solid the last 6 or 8 weeks, progressively getting better. Again, the the better cattle are selling for better. The plainer cattle not so good. But 4 to 5 weight steers in the 150 to 160, and even some cases the better cattle are selling better than that. So as far as the kill cow market, has softened some, but still a favorable market there in the 60s, depending on yield. Ryegrass is, we talked about that just briefly, but the ryegrass situation is not in a good situation because of the drought out west, where the ryegrass seed is grown. If you haven't made contact with your local supplier, you need to do so, because in some cases it may be short, and it's going to be more expensive than it has been in the past, maybe up to $8 or $10 a 50-pound bag more. So make sure you got that secured with your local dealers, because it's going to be a shortage to some degree, and an area that people may have to cut back on as far as some of their input costs. But that's about where we're at right now. And people are researching the market right now, trying to move some of these spring-born calves, and it'll be interesting to see if the market holds through the spring run coming to market in a month or so. So that's about where we're at right now.
All right, thank you. Lee, how are we looking in northwest part of the state?
Thank you all. Glad to be with y'all. I just want to echo what everybody has said so far. Hearts just go out to those in southeast Louisiana and some south central Louisiana, and those people that have been affected by this hurricane. What a tragedy, gosh. Our heart hurts for you, and if we can help in any way, y'all know to reach out to us. Our contact information is very easily had on these news reports. Y'all gonna have to excuse my voice. We baled some sorghum Sudan hay towards the latter part of last week, and it didn't agree with me too much. Allergies, I guess, got kicking in on it. So, but I'm steadily getting it back. Weather around here in the northwest part of the state, it has been hot. It has been humid. The last couple of days has been a respite as far as from the heat and the humidity. We've had some more traditional fall type weather. But other than that, it has been hot, guys. And there has not been a lot of cattle working. I talked to some producers that are getting ready to start weaning on those spring-born calves, but they're just simply waiting on a little bit of better weather to do it. Just wait until those highs reach down into the low 90s instead of the upper 90s. Get a little break on the humidity, We've been getting some rains here and there, spotty rains. We didn't get much out, or haven't got much yet out of this, out of Hurricane Ida. A little bit off of a couple of rain bands, but very little. We've had some pop-up showers that have brought some relief in places. Generally speaking, in this northwest part of the state, our pasture conditions are really good for this time of year, if the armyworms will leave it alone. And that's a big if, because they are eating us just, if you stand out in the pasture too long, they're going to try to eat the leather off your boots, that's for sure. They have been tough this year, as Vince said. There are some cattle being moved on the local auction markets, seeing some pretty high numbers on runs. I guess you could say that the fall run on these spring-born cattle has kind of started. Boy, Vince really hit the nail on the head when he was talking about those plain cattle. They just don't have very many friends. You can sit up there and watch some of these good calves really buoy your optimism in the market, and then they'll run through a string of these plainer type cattle, these one and a halves to twos as far as quality goes, and especially some of these lighter 1.5 to 2 quality cattle, and boy, they just don't have very many friends. Also, this gets into the time of the year when these folks that are buying and putting together these cattle, they start looking a little bit more at the programs that they're on. Are they preconditioned? Are they background? What kind of animal health? What kind of program are they on? This time of the year, whenever we get into these warm days and these cool nights, that's whenever these respiratory illnesses, pneumonia, and whole litany of them come into play on these lighter type cattle. And it's getting to where the death loss discount is built in on some of these cattle, pretty significant on some of these lighter ones. So that's something I'm always going to talk about, no matter what time of the year, though, is preparing your cattle to go to the auction market. And if you're in an area where you can get a little premium from participating in a backgrounding and preconditioning program through your local auction markets, I highly suggest you do that, because you can see a little bit of benefit from that. Ryegrass is a hot topic around here. Nobody has ventured into planting it. Some have started some prep work or started the process. You know, they may be dinging some grass with a little bit of glyphosate to knock it back in preparation to drill. Few folks that are doing prepared seed bed in this part of the country have got it on their minds. You know, some folks will try to go in and bale some hay to reduce the amount of forage on that pasture before they drill, or try to prepare seed bed, or even overseed. And so there's some people that are getting those prep work lined up or on their minds. One thing I do want to kind of close on when we're talking about these plantings is, as Vince stated, this ryegrass seed is high, and it's going to add to the bottom line, or subtract from the bottom line, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it as far as your expenses go. But in the last couple of weeks, I fielded a number of calls from people. They're searching for answers as far as fall and winter plantings, as how to cheapen it up a little bit. And some of them are looking at mixing in some cereal grains, some wheat or oats or cereal rye, or looking at some seed mixes almost. There's a couple of distributors that are putting out some seed mixes. Just anything they can do to try to cheapen up these plantings. And that's a good thing. You know, we really like some seed mixes in this part of the world, as far as mixing in some wheat with the ryegrass. We really get some early grazing with the cereals, and some, of course, good grazing out of the ryegrass as well. So while we like that, and while I recommend a lot of that, be cautious on what you're mixing there. Be sure that the planting rates still line up with what you need to be planting as far as total amounts. Also, be cognizant of the fact that with some of these cereal grains, with these wheats and stuff like that, you know, overseeding just doesn't work with them. You got to have that soil to seed contact. And you know, a lot of us have gotten into the kind of the routine of overseeding some ryegrass seed, and that works very well, and it just won't work with some of these seed types. You're going to have to do a little bit more prep, or you're going to have to invest in a drill, or going to have to rent a drill or something like that. So just keep in mind, whenever you're trying to cheapen up those fall plantings, to make sure that you're planting it in the appropriate method, and you're planting the correct amount. Just some notes from what I'm seeing as talking with people. I guess that's about it, Ash.
All right, thank you. So a couple of things. I'm having a true Monday. My brain's getting scattered. Lee, do you want to give a reminder on the hay contest real quick for State Fair?
Yeah, we've mentioned this before on our updates. We are having a State Fair hay quality contest. Been doing it for about 3, 4, 5 years, maybe longer than that now, where we try to showcase people that are really putting up good hay. And no cost to enter there. There are some regulations that come into play about how to get a sample entered, where it has to be processed, so on and so forth. If you baled up some good hay and want to get it tested and try to put it in the running, contact one of us. We'll get you all the information on there. I talked to a guy the other day that he said, well, I hadn't baled any good hay to amount to anything, not what I feel like would win. I told him, well, there's been very few people that have put up good hay, so you might as well enter some. Worst case scenario, you find out what your hay's testing at, which is something we all need to do anyway. So I encourage you to participate if you can. Reach out to one of us. We'll get you fixed up on the rules and regulations, how to enter it.
All right, thank you, sir. So Vince and Lee have both talked about markets, and Lee just mentioned marketing, and if you're backgrounding, if you're following these vaccination protocols. you know, and if you sell at the local auction barns, to reach out to them. And that's something that came up a couple of weeks ago in a meeting that we were in. I think a lot of producers aren't aware that you can pick up the phone and you can call your local auction barn, ask them what the markets are doing, what it's looking like, if they have special sales coming up, if they've got other producers that you can group your cattle with, just different things that can help bring you, you know, hopefully a little bit more money based off the management practices and all the input that you're already putting in. So again, don't hesitate to pick up the phone, call the auction barns and see what they've got going on there. For our Northeast region update, for the most part, I'm sitting here in Union Parish today, and kind of over the weekend I was in Delhi on Saturday, and it's just been kind of scattered thunderstorms between really where we border Lee on the northwest all the way over to the Delta. And of course, Hurricane Ida has brought some more thunderstorms and increased rain along the river Delta there. And we're just kind of waiting for all that to pass to see exactly, you know, what's been done with the crops and everything there over in that region. For the markets ending in the week, as you can see, Jason's not here. He left this to me. Some of those reports had not come out yet, so they're a little bit more sparse than what we normally have because those just weren't out right before we started recording this. But your choice cutout for the week averaged 347, which is an $8 increase from a week ago. That left the choice select spread at $29.60 for the week. Your slaughter volumes finished the week at 654,000 head, which was up 3,000 from the previous week. To finish the week in the 5 area feeding region, fed steer negotiated cash sales ranged from 121 to 130 on a confirmed 48,176 head. That was actually down quite a bit from the previous week. It was down by 30,053 head. Your 5 to 6 weight steers, medium and large 1s and 2s, sold between 141 to 165. That's down $1 to $3 from the previous week. And 7 to 8 weights, medium and large 1s and 2s, sold from 131 to 150. That was down $9 to steady from the previous reporting week. So there was a good range coming in there, and Lee and Vince, I think, both touched on some of the variation we're seeing there on those cattle. And then your lean cull cows remained steady. They're anywhere from $58 to $64 coming in there. And I apologize, we don't have the feedstuffs. Again, that was one of the reports that just had not come out prior to recording this on Monday. So give me just a second, let me pull up the rest of my notes. Coming in for a few events, we've touched on a lot of these already, but the monthly webinar for September is going to be with Mr. Andrew Granger. He's doing winter supplementation alternatives. That is Tuesday, September 14th at 10:30 a.m. That's also when your next news update will come out. The Northeast Beef and Forage Field Day that Jason's talked about, again, that's going to be on Thursday, September 16th at the Goldmine Plantation in Richland Parish. And a reminder that our advanced master cattleman registration is open. I'll have that link in the video and podcast descriptions. Dr. Scaglia is your contact for that, and I'll link his email as well. And if you're not already following us on social media, I've got that information as well as the Remind app posted in the descriptions as well. That's just a great way to get resources from us as they come out, such as the disaster resources that I mentioned earlier. I sent all those out earlier today through Remind and through all the social media channels. So again, if y'all have any questions, if you need help with anything, as Lee mentioned, it's pretty easy to get a hold of us, not just from these news updates, but I feel like our cell phones are probably way everywhere on the internet already. Just so it's pretty easy to reach out to us. Don't hesitate to do that. We're sending prayers to everyone in Southeast Louisiana and up through Mississippi. If there's anything that we can do to help y'all out, just let us know. And we will be back with y'all again in a couple of weeks.